Okay, let me just see what this is doing. Okay, so, whoop, got it. Meeting's being live streamed. Oh, yay, it says we're going live. Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. So, let's just give it a few moments. Cool. I'm going to see if I can do this and have like the messages and chats and stuff up while we're chatting.
I've got it open on my phone, so if you can't, I've got it.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
I've got it.
Great. So I'm just going to say hello and like we'll start. Cool. So welcome Charlie. She's with us today. So I'm not sure you've ever done a live with us. We've done a recording. Hey. Oh, welcome Charlie. Awesome.
Well, that just put the fear of God in me. I didn't realise that until this exact moment.
Thinking away. Awesome. Well, I'm really happy you're here. So it's really cool. So we thought we'd do something a little bit different because we are meeting on 8/8. So on Lionsgate, there will be another meditation. So this month we wanted to get together and basically just give you guys an idea of like what's happening at the moment. What is this like special time everyone keeps on talking about? Like what is it all about? All of that. So we wanted to get together and give you a bit of our perspective on things, how we're feeling at the moment, what's happening, and answer some questions from the people in our community as well that they've been giving us as well. So I just wanted to quickly say, let everyone say hello. So Charlie, do your hello.
That's my hello. Hello.
Welcome. Ceryn.
Welcome. Come on down.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live, Charlie. And hello, Michaela, as well. Michaela's just posted that she's watching us. So hello, Michaela. Hello.
Awesome. Okay, fabulous. So what we're going to start with is what is the Planetary New Year? So you guys would have seen me talking about it. And this is literally like one of my favorite. Yeah, it's like a really cool event. Like I get really excited about it. So yesterday was the day out of time. So the Mayans believe that like we moved into a brand new cycle for the Earth. So this is the new year of the planet, right? So what happens is that we basically get into a space where the planet gets an opportunity to reset, receive new energies. As I was shown today as well during one of my group sessions was like new energies from the stars. And this basically helps the planet to reset for the year ahead. And then like bringing in brand new energies, brand new consciousness, like it's basically a big opportunity to create a beautiful, clean slate for the year ahead. So it's really a time of being able to step into that space where you can redefine and reimagine how you want this year ahead to be for yourself. So what happens is we start now. The ancient Egyptians also really loved this season because it was when the Nile was flooding, Sirius was rising. So you really had that like it was an indication of new life that was starting this time of year. So if you can imagine what we're going to go through now is we're starting on the 26th, and then the energy and this, well, basically the spiritual sun, Sirius, is doing like a rising, and we go into the height of this on the 8/8 portal, which is the Lionsgate portal. Now, this is also in the season of Leo, so it's got that whole like really like big ass, like powerful energy behind it. And we're basically using that energy to help us to move into like our goals, our dreams, everything that we really want to, the shit we want to sort out basically, right? So that's the energy. And then we go through the 12th of August is also really important. And then it starts to basically go down after that. So this time is really, it's like, think about the universe giving us a little present and going, there you go. Here's a perfect time to sort your shit out and get yourself into that space of moving forward. So that's basically in a nutshell what this period is about. So Ceryn, I know you wanted to also speak a little bit about Venus and what's happening there as well. So if you just want to.
And I think it's interesting, you know, when you say that right now, Yolandi, is like the universe is giving us a little present. It makes me think about how in astrology, when a planet is in its home sign, we talk about it being exalted, you know, because it has like the double amount of its energy. It's in its exaltation. And I almost feel like in a sense, that's what Earth is right now. You know, we've got a few people watching. I'm not going to say hi to you all because I can see all of your names. I'm just going to do this. Hi, everyone. we talk about that exaltation, you know, when we think about astrology, we don't include Earth in our, obviously, because we're here, we sit here, we can't see it in the sky. But I often think, I've said this so many times to friends who are much better astrologers than me, what do you think the qualities of Earth would be if we were doing all of this from Mars or from Venus? What would the qualities of Earth be as an astrological symbol? And really, isn't renewal, isn't fertility one of those? Isn't the tangible and the physical one of those? Because what is, you know, Earth? Earth is Gaia. Earth is the cycle of living. It is the cycle of life and death. It is fertility. It is, and that is what is exalted right now. You know, we can look at, I guess, if I'm going to really bastardize the whole idea of astrology, we could look at Earth as being exalted at this time of year. And I like that idea, so I'm going to stick with it.
I love that. And it's that life-giving thing. So if you think about like how the Egyptians was in there and they were going, well, this is the time when we know that the Nile's going to flood. And like, you know, we know it's really important. And it's that life-giving energy. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, so right now, Venus is in retrograde. I love that I always talk about astrology on these things as though I know what I'm talking about and I know about this much of that big a thing. But Venus is in retrograde. And when a planet is in retrograde, it means it's sort of, it invites us into a bit of a review of everything that planet is about, of everything that planet represents. Now, we know that Venus is linked to relationship of all kinds. It is linked to pleasure. It is linked to beauty. It is the one of the main planets that is named after a woman. All of the others are named after men. We've got a few asteroids named after women, but Venus is the one that's named after a woman. So it's that feminine energy. And I think it's really interesting that at the moment we are in a place where, I mean, I have heard multiple people say to me this week, my PMS is the worst it's ever been, or my period this month is the heaviest it's ever been, or something around my feminine hormones. And it's almost like this Venus retrograde in Leo, by the way. Leo is that big, let me take center stage, this Venus retrograde in Leo is really encouraging us to go back over all of that stuff, to really review it, to perhaps even start afresh in a certain sense. And if we add that in, you know, this links to relationships, it links to our pleasure. I wonder, I've heard so many people talking about the relationships with their bodies, the relationships also with their minds. You know, I know for me personally, I feel like I'm on a great big reset, both mentally and physically. And I wonder how much this Venus reset, this Venus retrograde is asking us to review and to reset the places where we see beauty and pleasure in our lives, the places where things feel easy. Because actually, are they easy? Or are they the things that we do that actually take us out of harmony with our divine flow and into a place of numbness, into a place of pleasure instead of actual pleasure?
Wow.
Feel as though we're all being asked to step back and think about that. What is my divine plan? What is it who am I? What am I here for? And how many of the things that I say, oh, it makes me happy. Oh yeah, this is just easy. This is beautiful. This is pleasurable. I do this because everybody else wants me to, and so on and so forth, are actually taking me away from that divine plan and into a place of, well, not my Venus energy being center stage in Leo.
Sure. It's like truth is like woven in there, right? Like my authentic truth, my authentic pleasure. Like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna have to sit with that, baby, because I didn't even think about that. I'm like, shit, like, what does that really mean for me? So that's beautiful. Thank you. Sure. Charlie, moons.
Okay, so we are approaching a supermoon on the 1st of August, I think. And this is the first of 4. For me, what came up this morning when I sat and had a quick mull over what we were going to chat about tonight, I think it's super important to acknowledge our emotions. However, I don't know if any of you have ever read Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown, but she talks about the average human only being aware of 3 emotions, when in fact there are 87. So the average human is only aware of happy, sad, angry, which is fine. However, they are multifaceted and they have layers and stories behind them. So I think it's super important for us to start looking over the next couple of months about why we are feeling a certain way. I think we're probably going to see a lot of people losing control, maybe, of their emotions. So I say this with love, but the people that aren't aware of them or aren't willing to explore them. So I think we need to highlight that this is going to build, because a supermoon is when the moon is stronger, in a sense. So that is going to affect our emotions. So I think my reminder would be kind of just sit with your emotions. Maybe don't act so quickly, because I think this is something that we are seeing now, and it's just going to build. So think of other people's emotions, obviously put yours first, but consider that's a given, but just consider why you're feeling a certain way rather than acting on it, because I think that's something that we're really going to see coming up over the next few weeks and months. So I think that would be my main highlight for what's happening at the moment. It's like the door is opening, and with that, it's kind of like a floodgate of all the things we've been ignoring, all the things we've been neglecting, all the things that are going to trigger the shit out of us and activate us. Because it's summer. We're going to spend all of the time with the people that we love, but maybe don't align with. We're going to be in environments that are busier. We're going to be going on holiday and have all the extra stresses. So I think those supermoons are really going to come into impact, and we're going to notice them more.
Yeah. And I also think, because it's like after that, so I mean, we had 7/7, we had the solstice, so we've had like a lot of like big stuff happening, and it's just like what I've been finding is it's like the deepest stuff is coming up, and like you say, it's just like, and now you throw in, oh, guess what, like there's all these extended energies, and we're in Leo season, and it's emotion, and it's roaring, and rah, rah, rah. So it's just like it's this massive amplification. So if we don't sit in those emotions and start digging, where the hell are we going to end up, right? Like, what are we creating? And like, it's not even you, it's like the people around you as well. So that whole bit of compassion for yourself, for everyone else around you, that also feels like it's super important at the moment, because it's just like everyone's going to be feeling it, and you can see it like in the comments that we got today, how people are feeling, etc. It's like, you know, the shit's getting real, and we have to, I keep saying, we have to lift the rug and like bring all the dusty shit out and dust it off and start like feeling into it, because otherwise we are creating like a vortex of chaos for ourselves, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's planetary new year, isn't it? It's a fresh, clean start. So if you want to carry around all the junk and you want to drag around that heavy suitcase, then so be it, but you're technically making it more complicated and an unenjoyable journey for yourself.
Yeah.
Yolandi, Michaela has asked what happens on the 12th of August.
So that is another part of the important date. So it's basically there's like another energy portal that's going to be going on then. So like once we've opened up the energy of like Sirius and like really working with it, it's another like an amplification of that energy. So think about like between those 6 days, between the 12th and the 8th, like really working with the star energies. So that came through a lot for me today, because we were working with the Mayan energies in my circle, and it's like the star energies that's coming through now, that's being granted, that's being like shared, the codes that's coming through and everything in that like 6-day period. It's like, it's almost like it's supercharged. Okay, so that's like basically you need to look out in that space. What are you receiving? Really working with star energies. The one thing that was really important today when I worked with the Mayan energies is they were very, very adamant with me that I needed to have my earth star fully rooted. So even though I was going up, so I worked with the pyramid energies of the Mayans, and I was going up, I was like fully, like they kept on saying to me, keep your tail in the ground, keep your tail in the ground. So I was literally like little anchor in there. So it's really important when you're going to be working with those star energies in that super powerful period, that you are grounded as fuck, basically, because otherwise you're not going to get the full potential of it. And that cleansing and clearing energies that's coming through, you're not going to be able to take advantage of it. Okay.
And I want to say, I just did a little Google while I'm listening to you, because I want to say also August the 13th is what's called Venus. Chani Nicholas, who's always my go-to astrologer, calls it Casimir, but it's basically when Venus is right on top of the sun. So Venus will be together. So when you think about the sun as being that leonine energy, which, you know, Sirius and the sun have a lot in common in that sense. When you think about everything we're talking about, those two energies are coming really tight together. Not a kick in the butt off the time that you're talking about, Yolandi.
Yeah, so just to end it off like really nicely, the other thing I also wanted to bring up was Chiron went retrograde this week as well. So Chiron is obviously, for those of you don't know, it's the wounded healer. Okay, so I found it really interesting because a lot of the stuff that's been coming up for me is also linked to the wounded healer in terms of, like, you know, wanting to save the world and all that bullshit that we want to do when you a light worker, and I'm here to, like, you know, make everything better, blah blah blah. So all your shadows around that like healer energy, that wounded healer energy, that's also going to really be amplified at the moment. So I just feel like for me personally, it's been really, really important to get clear on my intentions for my work, and to understand that it's not about saving anyone, but it's about, like, sharing our messages, sharing our light. So just be very aware of your shadows around being a healer or any of those things about, like, savior complex, all that, like, stuff that I know so well. And it's just like, it's really important just to be in that space of really understanding your intentions as a healer, and, like, what is it that, why are you showing up here? What is it that you want to do? How do you want to serve, but not in a way that violates your boundaries or disconnects you from your light more? Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up as well.
And I think that service piece that you mentioned, especially, you know, if we consider that not that long ago, the lunar nodes shifted sign as well. And so Chiron, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is retrograde in Aries. At the same time, we've just had a shift of the North Node to Aries. Now, your North Node is where we're heading. The North Node is, if you imagine it as an arrow, the North Node is the front part of the arrow that is firing us forward. And so at this point in time, we have that arrow of our whole world, of where we're headed, pushing us forward. And at the same time, we've got Chiron just dancing a little backwards dance in there, going, hold on, let's all just review. Let's just review how you are being of service. Let's just review all the shadows and the wounds that you're carrying into your daily life, that you're carrying into your work, that you're carrying into your purpose, for want of a better phrase. You know, these two things are like, we're really being asked to get conscious about how we're driving forwards. I think that's what those two things dancing about in the same part of the sky say to me. It's a consciousness about how we move forward.
Yes, I love that. Yes, definitely. So, Charlie, do you want to share some of the stuff with us, just about, like, what's been coming up for you? Because we thought we'd give you guys a bit of an idea of just like, you know, the shit we've been going through, just on a high level, because I know a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. So, you know, certain shadows are showing up for people around certain themes. So we just wanted to share some of our themes with you guys, just it might resonate. And then we're also going to have a bit of a chat about, like, some of the questions we had today. So, Charlie, you want to go?
So much. So much fun. I think I will highlight firstly that boundaries is always going to come up. So I'm just going to highlight it there. It's always happening. It's always evolving. But I won't share mine with you on that one. What I will share is what seems to be coming up for me and a lot of people that I know or work with at the moment is this resistance towards the masculine. And as I said that, I felt everyone go, so let's just rip this open. We have this unhealthy resistance to the masculine. And I get it. I get the patriarchal side of it. I get the history of it. I get that there are certain situations and things in life where we're not considered equal or treated equally. I understand it. However, the man bashing, the hashtag toxic masculinity, all of those things, are being highlighted to me as not helping. It's just creating a really big divide. And I think for me on a personal level, that has made me explore we're all aware of how women are squeezed into boxes and how we're molded and how we're sort of given the toys and all the pretty things, and then suddenly they're ripped away from us and we have to grow up. And yet men are allowed to maybe keep their boy toys in their game rooms and things. Like we don't need to go down that path. But what we don't talk about is how we as women are squashing our own masculine. So I think what's coming up for me at the moment is balancing my masculine and my feminine, which means a lot of boundaries, a lot of looking at my relationships with other women, with other men, how I interact with my son, what my husband is coming up against every day as a man, the presumptions and the pressures that we place on men, and also this internal friction we have between our masculine and our feminine, because society is quite happy to box us and label us at the moment. And what I'm seeing is it's really not going to fucking work. So I think there's a lot going on. I could probably go into it extensively, but I think it's looking at how we relate to people, our relationships, how we attract things, what we attract, and what we value. Like what I value as a soul in the body of a woman, or however I want to look at it, with masculine traits and personalities and feminine traits and personalities and actions and so on. So I think it's complex. I still haven't cracked it. I'd love to tell you I had. So that's what I'm working with, I think, at the moment. And some vertigo. So if anyone else is having vertigo, I am. I can't tell you why. That's me.
Okay, so I think the masculine thing feels really important, and that balancing like the male and the female energies, like it's just it's like, isn't that what we're working towards, right? Like it just feels like it's such a theme this year, and it's just like, for me it keeps coming up. So I'm with you, like that masculine side has also been like,
it's just a minefield, isn't it? And there's so much resistance in it, whether we're aware of it or not.
Yeah, there
are women that are like, I'm not talking about this, I'm not doing it. We've talked about men, we've had the men's stories, we've had his story for centuries. I get it, but by doing that, we are then quashing men, and then that is just making the whole process and this whole equality journey twice as hard.
Yeah.
We're not just quashing the men, as you sort of alluded to, we're quashing a whole half of ourselves.
Yes, that's exactly it.
I'm studying this at the moment. I'm writing a dissertation on this at the moment. And as I'm doing the interviews, I had a beautiful conversation the other day with someone who said, I've come to realize since I've started working deeply with my inner masculine, that as long as I didn't trust the masculine, full stop, that meant that I didn't trust half of me. In a place of full trust, I couldn't be in a place of full acceptance. I couldn't be in a place of full power until I came to recognize that I was not one or the other, and that I could trust both. And Opal Essence has put a quote on here saying, need to avoid the polarization trap. And I totally agree with you. I think something that came through really strongly for me the other day was the line, patriarchy's first crime wasn't suppressing any of us, it was dividing us.
Yeah.
And we have to remember that, it's very easy to think that patriarchy, we think about white supremacist, capitalist, homophobic, transphobic patriarchy, right? We think about all those things, and each one of those things suppresses a group of people or multiple groups of people. What we forget is that before any one or more of those groups were suppressed, there were no freaking groups. We were people. And I don't say that to diminish anybody's identity. I don't say that to take away from the communities that anyone, excuse me, my dog is chewing a power leaf, to take away from the communities that anybody belongs to, or from the identity that somebody holds, because that stuff is so important. And who we are Each and every one really fucking important. And if aliens landed tomorrow, do you know what they'd look at? They'd look at us and go, oh, we're humans. They kind of all look the same. They kind of all act the same. And so although that is important to us and our own identities are important, and the ways that we respect and honor our identities and the identities of each other is really, really important. And this isn't me saying, throw it all away. There's no such thing as race. There's no such thing as sexuality. There's blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we also need to remember that once upon a time, we were humans. And at that time, we weren't trying to suppress one lot or the other. We weren't trying to say these people were better than these people and these people were worse than these people. We weren't trying to say these people's identity was valid and these people's identity wasn't. We were saying, you be who you are, you love who you love, you do what you do, and this is how we come into a place of harmony. And if you ask me where we are coming back to, where we are working our way back to, slowly, is a place where you can be who you are, you can love who you love, you can do what you do, and all of it, none of that is suppressed, because all of it is honored, all of it is respected, and all of it is beautiful. And I think it's fascinating when we think about what are the qualities that we associate, because it's so interesting what you say, Charlie, about, you know, the masculine and patriarchy is totally a thing, you know, toxic masculinity, we see it everywhere. There is an idea that there's no such thing as toxic femininity, which I totally disagree with and think is bullshit. But where there is a toxicity, there is also a healthy, and we need to come back to a place of remembering what the healthy masculinity is. Yolandi, are you still sitting with your head tilted and a really cool look on your face? Or have you frozen? Oh no, it's just on my screen.
Me too.
Yeah, you're loading live on YouTube, but on mine and Charlie's screen, you is. Come back to a place of remembering the healthy energies, the healthy yin and yang, which underpin those labels that we call masculine and feminine, the healthy, you know, the healthy expressions of energy, because what are we all but expressions of energy in a body?
Mic drop from Ceryn.
Mic drop from Yolandi, because she's just vanished.
She's just left.
That's the Wi-Fi died.
Wi-Fi's died. She will return. Mic drop from Ceryn, and that's why you're writing the book.
But I think this is a thing, isn't it? So for you know, as we continue this, focus on integration, inclusion, wholeness, unity at individual and collective levels. Absolutely that's what it's all about. It's about reconnecting with all the different parts of ourselves so that we can integrate them. And you know, that integration is not going to happen overnight. Charlie and I, if you don't mind me sharing, did a ritual a little while ago, and that was you're back. Yay. That was last new moon. We did a ritual, and we're still integrating it. Like on the daily, we are going, this is integration from that ritual. This is integration from that ritual. You know, we are still, last full moon, maybe it might even be a month ago. That journey of integration is a continual process. And right now, the sun is at its peak in so much of, and you know, certainly in the northern hemisphere, we're talking about Leo season, which is all related to the sun. It shines a light on everything, especially the integration.
Love it.
Or we even consider the solar flares that we've had recently as well. It really is highlighting why it's almost as if the light is giving us this profound opportunity to embody the type of person we want to be, or the type of human we were born to be. And I think we, as much as we try to run from it, hide from it, avoid it, gloss it over with some love and light bullshit, we really are at that point now, it feels like, where we have no choice but to change for the better. And I think that's why we can no longer tolerate, I don't know if it's coming up for anybody else, but I can't tolerate the things I used to tolerate maybe 4 weeks ago. I can't be in those environments. I can't, I just can't. It's as if someone takes away the oxygen supply in the room. without sounding dramatic. It's not like I fall to the floor and I'm like to my husband saying, "Get me out here." It's much more discreet. I usually text from across the room. I think it's just being highlighted to us more. And that means that we're having to call people out in a loving way, and say, like, that's not going to work for me anymore. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me, and no one's perfect. Like, we're all embodying and uncovering a new layer, every single person. But it's being able to, I think it's highlighting now where you are at as an individual and what you will no longer tolerate. I think.
Where you want to be too, right? I've been doing a lot of work. I was watching a video today that was all about visualization, and it almost feels like I've been going back to the basics recently of stuff that I used to watch 15, even 20, makes me sound old, years ago. And now I'm watching it back, and I'm stuff that if you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would have been like, oh, this is so basic. It's bypassing. This is bypassing. Now I think, I'm sort of coming to a point of considering that we can take anything anywhere we want to. If we sit with these basic things and roll our sleeves up and wade on into them, they don't have to necessarily be bypassed. And if we look at them and what they actually mean, look at how they feel for us, like try to understand them more deeply. And I think that there's a big piece for me about, I was pondering today, if I visualize where I want to be, if I visualize the things I want to, the person I want to be, the life I want to live, one, how does that look? But two, how do I get myself to a place of believing that that's possible? Because it is, look at all of it, to go really low of attraction, cheesy with you. Look at all the things in life now that once upon a time you were like, oh, I wish I could have that. I wish I could be that. I wish I could do that. Because we all have them, from the tiny things to the big things. And actually, I think as we look at it with this refreshed energy, everything, we need to start asking ourselves, well, where there are blockages within the ways that we are looking at this stuff, how can I look at it from a different perspective? How can I turn it in a way that isn't just love and light, that is the depths, that is really powerful, and that feels maybe a little bit different, but that feels more aligned to us?
And don't you think that's because we're coming from a different energy now? Like, we are in a space where our consciousness has shifted so much that we approach these things, even though, like the ancient stuff, like, right, like all these laws and like meditation and blah, 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 all these things, right? It's just like, we come from a different space. So we have more power. We come from a place of power to implement those things now, where before we didn't believe in ourselves, we didn't trust ourselves, we didn't feel as much as we feel right now. So that's a big difference. And therefore, like, our perspective changes, because I keep on going, like, I need to revisit stuff. I need to relook at this. I need to understand this again. And even when I did the chakra course for the people, it was like, my guides get back to basics. But how are we looking at basics now? And that's the beauty. That's where that ancient, deeper wisdom comes in, because we were looking there. And like you say, now we're diving deep, deep, deep. And that's what the 7 years is also about, going underground. That's what our planetary year is about as well. So, yeah.
And it makes me think about, I keep saying, and we've been joking a lot recently, I keep saying this word feral everywhere. And we've been joking about this between the three of us often. I keep saying, as you have seen from the chaos she's causing, when I keep having to get up or have a dog butt in my face, my puppy is, whenever people ask me about her, I'm like, oh, when she's good, she's really good. When she's bad, she's feral. And a friend said to me the other day, well, isn't that all of us? And I was like, yeah, I suppose. And then I was reading a piece where someone said, what is feral? But feral is what happens when you're the opposite to domesticated. And I almost feel like at the moment we're being asked to look at so much ourselves, the spiritual teachings, everything. We're being asked to look from a feral perspective, from a perspective of, if I hadn't been told who I am, if I wasn't living by the rules and the relationships that have been imposed upon me, if I wasn't living in the boundaries that I've been told are my boundaries and you just play within this little box here, if I wasn't living in the divisions that patriarchy has given me, how would I approach this differently? How would I see this differently? How would I embody this differently? it's a feral embodiment of all of this stuff. And I feel like, you know, isn't Leo season perfect for that? Because you're going to have to be going something to tame a lion, aren't you? Did you see that thing the other week, how they thought there was a lion loose in Berlin? And it turned out it was a what was it? A wild boar, allegedly. But they thought there was a lioness like running wild in Berlin. And I watched an interview with a local resident, and he said, oh, they came over and said, there is someone dangerous on the loose. And I thought it was a person. And I was really glad, actually, that it was only supposed to be a lioness. And I watched this and was like, are you joking? You were glad it was a lioness? A person, you might have a little bit of, you know, you might be able to maybe reason with them a little bit, be like, please don't shoot me. Please don't stab me. A lion, there is no reasoning. It is wild, and rightly so. How funny we are that we genuinely think that's all right, much better than a wild lion.
I love that. So that's really cool. So I love this because this whole feral thing, like, I mean, I've been like, oh, that word is so like, but I mean, when you say it that way, I'm loving this. This is the time for us to, become wild again in our expressions and just like absolutely beautiful. So that's so cool. I wanted to ask you guys, sorry, I missed like half the conversation when my Wi-Fi died, thanks rainstorms. So I don't know if we like looked at people's questions and stuff from this afternoon. Sorry, I'm like a bit lost there.
You're good.
But I do want to see you're looking, Charlie. So we have a comment here that is welcome in change, even if it's shadowy, like not freaking out over the death card in tarot. I'm going to tell you a little secret that the three of us have uncovered over the course of this year. We're trying our best not to even freak out over the Tower card in tarot.
Yeah, we've not got it down in any, like, every time I think, okay, I've got this nailed now, I'm kind of in my stride, there's another way for me to get wild. There's another way for me to look at something. I think I posted a while ago that I was struggling to write because my thoughts were that quickly changing this past couple of weeks. And I think Ceryn was the same a couple of days, where what we thought in the morning wasn't the same as what we thought in the afternoon. So change is coming so thick and so fast, and that light is so bright that sort of returning to that feral self is the only way. And that's going to create a stronger truth. That's going to give you such a strong foundation in yourself that you're gonna have no issue with standing in any room and roaring if that is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And I think beautiful. that's where we're working at the moment, like whether you like the word feral or not.
It's growing on me. But I want to also oh man, so I'm just like that with that like constant change, and it's like your truth is just your truth is literally like expanding with you as you're going. So like this bullshit about like you changing your mind or whatever and people judging you about it, that needs to go, because everything's speeding up so fast, including our technology, including everything that's happening around us. The world is speeding up. So obviously we're going to be speeding up. We're going to be changing at a fucking rate of knots. And we have to not be like, oh my goodness, you don't believe what you did like last week or last month or last year. Yes, of course you're not going to believe that anymore, because otherwise you're not keeping up with what we're going through. That's the definition of change, right? Like it's movement. So
and not honoring that in yourself, but honoring it in other people. So if you're seeing a post on social media, I might post something, Yolandi might, someone we collectively know might on a Monday. They might not think the same on a Wednesday. So don't let it eat you up for 3 days, because it's certainly not eating them up. And it's certainly not, like, I think we need to stop deleting these things.
Yeah.
And literally start showing the change, showing up in that change and going, today I think this. And if it changes tomorrow, go live and go, I was wrong. Now I think this. Because it's not going to slow down.
Yeah.
It's just going to get quicker. So we need to lead by example, in that sense, and stop sort of glossing it over and waiting until it's all in this neat, pretty, well presented, filtered box, because that's not how this new paradigm is going to work. It's not.
We work, is it? Like, it's not how, we have this hashtag authenticity, which is this idea of what authenticity should be, what it is when we are being authentic. And even that is bullshit, because the whole point of authenticity is that we're all different. After having a whole rant before about how we're all the same underneath it all, also we're all different. Each and every one of us is different. And, to your point before, Charlie, God, there are so many times recently where I feel like I've been 10 different people before breakfast. And every one of them is still me. And yet every one of them is a different facet of me. And you know what? Excuse the noise. We're living in this timeline where it's almost, sorry,
hashtag authentic.
Real life.
Hashtag authentic feral.
Hashtag feral.
We're living on this timeline where we are a timeline of integration and of, I think it was Michaela said earlier, surrender. Surrender is the thing. We're living in this timeline of surrender and of integration, which means that we are changing constantly. And our authenticity is changing constantly. And we are embodying a different facet of our being every day, every hour, sometimes every minute. And we got two choices with that. We can try and stay absolutely wedded to who we think we are, to who our mothers think we are, to who our partners think we are, to who our friends think we are. And in doing that, we stop the flow. We prevent the flow from moving, or we can just pick our feet up and go with the current. And sometimes that's what we have to do.
And I think this is another thing, right? Like a lot of the people in the comments spoke about overwhelm. And I think when we are in a space of overwhelm, it's like almost like resistance to think we need to do all the things that everyone is expecting of us versus the stuff that we know is important for us to do. So it's just like, so this comes down to like you choosing what you need to believe in now, do right now, what is right for you versus everyone else's expectations of you. And I think for me personally, that I know that's where my overwhelm comes, is when I'm not being true to myself, when I'm not riding my wave and I'm trying to fucking put everyone else's shit into my little stream and trying to help and save and make sure everyone else is okay, instead of focusing on my wave, my stream, where I'm going. So it feels like, the more real I am, the less I need to get overwhelmed, the more I can focus on me and what I really need. So that's just my 2 cents, just to tie that in there.
100%.
Yeah, because it's you and your own inner animal, isn't it? Like, it's you, your own inner animal, and that's it. It's tunnel vision. An animal doesn't ask permission, a wild one. But the animal doesn't ask permission, like, am I right to just go and eat this rabbit? Like, it's just born and it knows that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's getting back to that without the external opinions, ideas, and all the other things.
Yeah. So when we value ourselves enough to say no, because that now we come back to boundaries again, right? Like if I value myself enough to say no, I'm not taking on your shit, I'm not going to be overwhelmed. Like that's where the boundaries thing comes in again. Because like you say, animals don't give a fuck. They're just going to go, I want to go and put my butt in Ceryn's face right now. And that's
all things around the room, no matter how much noise they make.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I love how Lagatha embodies like who we all want to be.
Lagatha is a lesson in so many things, and one of them is in exactly that. And I think, isn't it interesting that I've been thinking a lot about how if somebody had asked me 5 years ago what my purpose was, purpose is one of those words, isn't it, that we throw about, and that somebody had asked me what my purpose was, I would have been like, oh, I don't know. And actually, I have known my entire life on some level what I'm here to do. I just spent an awful lot of my entire life going, oh, but that's not really a job. Oh, but I can't really make money from that. Oh, but I probably shouldn't do that. Oh, but people like me don't get to do that. And so on and so forth. And actually, if I was being wild about it, if I was going to go back to my wild essence about it, what I would do was go, I'm the animal who's really good at doing this. So I'm just going to do it. No one's going to stop me doing it because it's where I thrive. It's where I roll. It's where I go and do it. And Opal Lessons has commented on the video to say that the news has just come in that Sinead O'Connor's passed away. I think, isn't Sinead O'Connor a perfect example of being wild and being feral, unapologetically so, like unapologetically being herself? What an incredible legacy, what an incredible way that she brought that to this earth. And as I said that, there's just a great big crow just going like that across my window.
Ooh. Yeah. Wow. Sure. Sorry, I'm just gonna have a moment.
I think you were on a YouTube live, Yolandi, when Dolores O'Riordan died too, right? We have this.
Oh yeah.
Who is another one of those women who fiercely and unapologetically shared her voice and shared what she thought at a time when the country that both of them came from was kind of coming down on them with some very patriarchal thinking, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. I love that because she was literally like my embodiment in high school. Like she was everything we all wanted to be. So that's
she
really
was wild.
Yeah.
She was so wild. And like I can't compare my wildness to Ceryn's or to yours, because everybody's wild is going to be different.
Yeah.
And we don't need to understand it. I just need to honor it. That's your wild, that's your thing. That's cool.
Yeah, sure. Oh, so I guess the theme for the next month is like, let's be wild as fuck and just like do what we need to do, right? I mean, that's what this is going to be about. It's going to be a wild ride. But make sure you do it in your own stream, I guess. Just to make sure you do this, because there's so much amazing beauty. And I just think I keep being pulled back to that beauty thing that you mentioned earlier as well. It's just like that, like Venus is here to teach us all that. So like bring that all back and inspire people to that. So.
And bring it back into your body. Bring it back into your body, because there's a physicality to this that we're missing, that a lot of us are getting at the moment. Like bring that beauty and that trust back into your body so that you can then direct and be bold and be honest and value your own desires from inside of yourself. Like there's a whole level of embodiment I think we're going to experience over the next few weeks and months, a physicality of it maybe.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I feel that we've been called to, is to remember this body wisdom, because this body wisdom is going to connect us even further into that ancient wisdom. And that's the piece that we are so missing at the moment still. And that's what we are all learning to trust again. I think like all three of us I know are like massive body work at the moment, massive like trusting the stuff that comes out our mouth, the things that pop up in our heads, like the twitches, the like feelings, all of that stuff, right? Like trusting all of that. That's the stuff. Once we are fully into that, like the rest of the world, the universe opens up in a different way. It's like you look through a different lens when you trust this. So that feels really big for me as well.
Something that I have really been taken on big style recently is where you feel an anxiety about it, it probably means you don't understand it enough. So where there is something, and this isn't me saying if there is something going on with your body, don't consult a medical professional. Of course, consult a medical professional. But if there is something happening that is worrying you, ask it. Your body is your greatest oracle. And you are the greatest voice for that oracle. But when there is something going on with your body, ask it. Ask your body what is going on. Put your hands on it. Journal with it. Ask your body, because there are so many things that are being released and that are being unleashed within us right now, that if we ask those questions, if we start doing that interrogation, we're going to get so many more answers than we're going to get from books, from Google, from going to see somebody else. Ask ourselves.
I love that. Okay, so I think we've been at it for 50 minutes. Well done, us. That was a hell of a chat. Anyone else want to share anything else? Anything else that we've missed? Charlie, stuff that we needed to still answer?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just cleanup time. It's time to get your shit together. It's time to stop bullshitting. It's time to stop avoiding all the things we've been avoiding. And that doesn't need to be hard.
Yeah.
It's not external, it's internal. Do your shit, own it, take responsibility for it, because it's game time, which is game time.
In your base Yellowstone impersonation.
That's done time, people.
Awesome. Ceryn, anything else from you, babes?
Nothing else from me except to say thank you. I'm just looking down to make sure I can see the comments, and I don't think there's anything that needs to be answered. Just yes. Thank you so much to all the people who've watched live and who have left comments on here. It's been awesome kind of being in dialogue with you while we've been doing this, because usually Yolandi and I are channeling, so we can't be in the dialogue when we're doing this. So this is quite nice. Thank you, and yeah, happy Planetary New Year.
And I reckon we'll be doing a few more of these this year. It's so much fun. And we also we just get to chat, and it's just lovely because it feels like there's some cool truth bombs falling out of our mouths when we do this together. So we'll definitely, Charlie, you survived your first live. Well done. High
so
five.
Happy to be feral with you.
The Feral 3 will be back online very, very soon. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was really cool. Thank you so much for all the comments. And so yeah, please, on 8/8 we are going to be back. That's a Tuesday, same time, 7 o'clock UK time. Myself and Ceryn will be doing our usual channeling and meditation. Charlie is going to man the world out there for us, and she's going to answer your questions and stuff. So we really look forward to seeing you guys. And just thank you so much for all your support and all your love. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Okay, cool. Let me see if I can log us off now. How do I make us not be live?